All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parrish, and I'm here today with the first guest in a long time, here with Owen Phillips, who writes the F5 newsletter. Owen, you're here in the future. I'm talking to you. You're in Sydney, Australia. How's the morning over there?
Rainy, cold, wet. No basketball. It feels very strange to be sitting in the middle of winter time here in Australia and not being able to turn on my television and watch indoor hoops. So a little bit of a bummer.
Do you have a weather-related sensation that, oh, this is hoops weather and it's thrown off by being in the Southern Hemisphere?
Yeah. It's when it's cold at night. You think you're going to go home and turn on the television and watch a Sacramento Kings game or something like that. And now I'm just home and it's Australian rules football and National Rugby League on the television. I don't know what the hell is going on, and I'm just trying to follow the ball.
Yeah. I have a National Rugby League kit from Australia. From a visit. It was like a purchase where I was in Australia. This looks nice. I don't think I've ever worn it. I have NBA jerseys I don't wear. This at least has sleeves. I could wear it. But
I hope you didn't buy the shorts, because those shorts are very, very short. Even, compared to how shorts are getting shorter, I feel like in the NBA, these ones are even
I did not
get right up to the point.
No, I did not get the full kit. So no, I can rock that. But Owen, you write a newsletter. It's really, I find it very informative, but also you seem to hit topics that specifically speak to me. A lot of times you have a lot of stuff about a referee database where it was, I loved the referee database, talking about, you would post on social media, something like people would be commenting there's a lot of fouls called in this game. And you'd be like, well, actually not so much based on the history of Bill Kennedy or whoever's calling the game. So that's very super informative, but I wanted to get you on to talk about your post you made about summer league stats. So you're aching in Australia in the weather to watch some basketball. I'm in blazing hot Tennessee in the US of A. I don't know if I'm aching to watch basketball. I'm kind of aching for NBA news. It feels like the biggest NBA news desert that we've had in a while. I mean, technically, Gilbert Arenas was just arrested hours ago as we recorded for maybe running a high stakes poker game in California. But as far as NBA transactions, there's nothing. So I'm still kind of in my summer league glow. And you wrote a thing about summer league stats and about which summer league stats might be meaningful and which ones we can totally ignore. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, no, that's right on point. I feel like everything you hear about summer league in terms of how players perform, everyone always says summer league doesn't matter. It's don't pay attention to summer league. And when someone usually has these broad declarations of what you should and shouldn't do, there's typically some nuance in there that people are disregarding. And so a couple years ago, I got really interested in the idea of thinking about, well, maybe there's some signal in these summer league stats that we can pull out that translate to a player's rookie season, but it's which ones are they actually important to look at? And so what I did this year, and I've done in the past, is I took a bunch of box score stats that you can find at Summer League, that you can find in a player's rookie year, and basically compared the two. So how did a player who scored a bunch of points at Summer League, did that translate to their rookie year? How about if they had a lot of assists at Summer League, and did that translate to their rookie year? And so I looked at that over a pretty long time period, I think between 2007 and 2024, and sort of mapped out all the correlations of which stats tended to translate the most to a player's rookie season. And I kind of referred to these as sticky stats, ones that tend to stick regardless of whether they're playing in Vegas or whether they're playing in the NBA. And what you find is actually a pretty interesting hierarchy of stats that once you see them kind of laid out, which ones tend to be most correlated, it's oh, that's why that totally makes sense. And the ones that aren't correlated, you're oh, okay, so that's why people say summer league doesn't matter. So I can kind of walk you through maybe which stats.
Well, I would say one thing that's I found interesting, there's certain ones where I'm oh, of course, there's no correlation statistically. between a player's summer league plus minus and his NBA plus.
Yeah.
You're like, well, yeah, like that's, I mean, how are you supposed to do anything? Although I feel like Draymond Green maybe never lost a summer league game, and that feels like
Okay.
maybe
Interesting.
that could have been useful. But no, like
Totally.
it makes sense that like plus minus will have no correlation. There's some where I'm like surprised. I'll tell you one
Mm.
where it's in the lower tier of relatable stats, the icky stats, as you have
Hmm.
labeled them, like free throw percentage.
Yeah.
I would have guessed, and I feel like I've gone through years where I'm like, oh, so and so was like 20 for 21 in summer league. Like that's a good sign for his ability. So I find that was one that actually surprises me that there hasn't been really any correlation.
Yeah, in that one in particular, I think it's tricky to measure across summer league and the NBAs because you're getting a lot of players at summer league who are probably only taking between like 0 and 3 free throws. So if they
Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah.
say
Okay.
1 for 3, all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're shooting 33%, and that might be not correlated at all to like them being a 70% free throw shooter. So that one was a little trickier to model, and I took a stab at it. Like it's more correlated than say 3-point percentage, but it's still pretty poor correlation overall. And I think that's largely just due to sample size.
Well,
But I think just intuitively, if someone goes 19 for 20 at Summer League, they're probably going to be a pretty good free throw shooter at the NBA as well, though.
so there maybe is some, you get enough attempts, you could be like, all
Yeah.
right, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing I've gotten into, it's like, because I don't know anything about these college guys or, even the undrafted players. And so I'll go and look at it like they're on the Grizzlies and I'm trying to figure out more about them. I look at their summer league stats and then I look at their G League stats. And I'm like, oh, this guy has consistently put up some of the same numbers. So I get maybe kind of excited. The one that I think maybe surprises people is the 3-point shooting and how not only is it an icky stat, it's like one of the worst where there's absolutely maybe zero correlation. And I understand a little bit on this small sample size, but still it's weird to be like, it doesn't matter that guy made all his threes or that guy missed all his threes. There's don't draw any conclusions yet.
Yeah, and I think it's probably along the same line is that 3-point percentage is pretty low at summer league overall. I think it's like the league average is below 30%. And players are taking very audacious threes at summer league too. So that's probably part of it. But I think again, it's probably just the more has to do with the lack of threes players probably take at summer league. And so it just gets those like small sample size players drag down the like overall correlation and things like that. So that's probably my best guess as to why it's so uncorrelated. And again, like in the NBA, we've done a lot of like analysis on how long it takes for 3-point percentage to stabilize. And that's like takes almost half a season before you get to I trust this player's 3-point percentage to be representative of their 3-point percentage is going to look like going forward. So it makes sense to me that in a couple games you're just getting like no signal out of 3-point percentage.
Yeah. So what are the best stats or the ones that you think are the most correlated? And also what of what use is knowing that? Like how do you use that information?
Sure. So the one that is the most correlated between a player's summer league performance and rookie season performance is 3-point attempt rate. And that's just a metric for seeing what percentage of a player's shot attempts come from beyond the arc. So a player who's all of a sudden taking 85% of their shots from beyond the arc in summer league, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar like they're going to be bombing threes as like their whole personality in their rookie season as well. So and that makes sense. Someone's not all of a sudden going to develop the willingness or confidence to start taking threes if they didn't do it at summer league. They're not going to all of a sudden by the time October rolls around start bombing threes with reckless abandon. So I think that's pretty interesting in the sense that it gives us a little bit of an idea of what a player's role is going to be in the NBA. So maybe they were someone in college who were largely an on-ball player who were doing one thing or another, but now they're in the NBA and they're kind of relegated to a more of an off-ball role and they're bombing threes. So what you saw, like one thing I thought was really interesting is one of the rookies who had the highest 3-point attempt rate was Igor Demin from the Brooklyn Nets. And he had like 80 something percent of his shots came from beyond the arc at summer league. And that was like pretty interesting because at college, it was only like 50%. So, and I remember reading something that basically the Nets coaching staff told them, hey, we want you shooting it pretty much every time you're out on the court. And I think that's probably because they're imagining a role for him in the NBA that is more off ball, more bombing threes, because they have so many players on their roster already that are like primary ball handlers. And they wanted to see maybe what is he going to look like as a, floor spacing secondary player as opposed to someone who's just running a million pick and rolls.
So another one of your high correlated, the sticky stats is blocks per 36. I was a little bit surprised that steals per 36, not as good. I thought it was one of
Yeah.
those things because I know I look at, whenever I'm like casually dipping into draft Twitter to try to fit, and everyone's talking about their steal and block percentages of these players, and they
Yep.
filtered it by like who's done this. So I'm always watching summer league, like, all right, who gets steals and blocks? Let's get excited. But I think it's interesting that blocks, it does seem to carry over. There is a correlation, and not so much steals. Do you have theories for why that is?
Yeah, I'm glad you actually mentioned it because I never got a chance to talk about it. And I think the biggest reason is in summer league there are just a ton of live ball turnovers that have maybe nothing to do with necessarily the defense's ability to cause those turnovers, but rather the player who's dribbling the ball's ability to actually keep possession of the basketball.
Yeah.
So I think turnovers are just like one of these stats that doesn't seem to correlate at all between summer league and the NBA. So therefore, steals themselves are not necessarily a reflection of the players' ability to generate steals. They're just a ability more reflective of the other players' inability to keep the ball. So I think that's why steals don't correlate. Blocks, on the other hand, is just like raw ability, right? Like you're not going to learn how to block a shot in between summer league and the NBA. Like you either have that ability or you kind of don't. You either have that willingness to go chase after blocks or you don't. And I think the guy who led summer league this year in terms of just like blocks per 36 was Jean Berger, the big center guy on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had like 7 blocks in
He had
one
a
summer league
ton
game
in
or
one of
something.
those games. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think like a pretty good, rule of thumb is like, okay, I expect this guy to be a shot blocker once he gets to the NBA. Like that's going to be kind of his calling card. And it's just a little interesting to see also some of like the smaller players who are actually like not bad at blocking shots. Like Walter Clayton Jr. is like a very small guard that was drafted by Utah, but he actually like had pretty decent block numbers relative to his size. So just like things like that, and like Hanson Yang was another player who just like kind of popped on the block numbers, and you're thinking, okay, maybe like this size will actually translate to the NBA. He'll offer some rim protection.
Yeah, I'm seeing Grizzlies two-way signing PJ Hall maybe did pretty good on blocks per
Yeah,
36, also pretty good
yeah.
on rebounding per 36. Another
Well,
good.
but PJ Hall is not a rookie, is he though? Is he
Well,
isn't
he's
he like
not.
a second year player? Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah,
he's like 24 maybe, but yeah, second year.
yeah,
No, I
yeah,
was looking at the
exactly.
just the general real GM
Totally, totally,
sorted.
totally. And
Um
it's worth pointing out, like if we have like stats from a player's G League season, those are
yeah.
probably going to translate more than these summer league ones. It's just interesting with summer league because this is the only data we have on a lot of these rookies in some
Yeah.
sort of NBA context.
So going back to the steals thing and the fact that there are just so many turnovers, I was curious if you knew this. Do NBA teams keep track of steals that are like you actually stole the ball or you
Mm-hmm.
generated that steal versus the ball came to you? Like you were standing
Yeah,
there and whoever lost his handle, like I would like, is there a super steal stat out there
yeah,
where it's
yeah.
like you actually stole the ball? You ripped the ball away from this person because of your long wingspan, your deflection, your instincts, your movements, or like so and so dribbled it off his foot and you picked
Yeah,
the
no,
ball up.
I actually don't think anyone tracks it. That was actually a pretty good idea. Someone mentioned that to me the other day, actually. It's such a good coincidence. About like live ball turnovers are so important in basketball. Like they're so much more powerful than a dead ball
Yes.
turnover because a live ball turnover turns into fast break points. But not all live ball turnovers are caused by the defense. Just like you said, some of them are caused by the player dribbling the ball off their foot or something like that. And I think in most cases, those still get registered as steals, which is kind of interesting. And maybe there should be some sort of like unforced error turnover or
Well,
something like that. And
I know for a fact they're counted as steals from playing fantasy basketball. So it's like they're steals. There's other ones where it's like they do credit it to the guy who knocks it away most of the time, and then sometimes I'm like, that was my guy. Whatever. Yeah, that's one I'd be interested to know what those stats look like, because I was looking at the guys who have the most steals in a summer league game ever. Because Jameer Watkins, I think the Wizards guy, I think he picked up 8, which tied the summer league record. Donovan Mitchell, that was a game I went to. He took the ball away from Wade Baldwin the fourth like 4 times in that game, and those were like. Yeah. But then I saw like Cam Whitmore had 8 steals in a game, and he's not really known for the defense. I also want to know, this is just unrelated to any of the summer league stuff, if we improve that stat, does anyone keep track of like I need a rebounding stat that deducts the uncontested rebounds. I don't care what, like, I need NBA stats that say like if Owen was on the court, he would have gotten that rebound. I need all those erased. You know, if I'm standing on the court and there's no one near me and the ball comes right to me, I'm more interested in like contested rebound rate or something like that. And I need to know if that's available anywhere.
Dude, I think that actually is available on NBA.com. I think they have a category for contested rebounds and stuff like that. But yeah, that was like a big sticking point to me when I was with the Knicks. I would always remember Julius Randle would get a bunch of free throw defensive rebounds, and it would just be like just an extra 1 or 2 there every night. Well,
I'm so sensitive as a Grizzlies fan and podcaster when everyone's like, I wish Jaren Jackson Jr. averaged 9 rebounds per game. You're like, why? What is that? Like, I just want him to stand and get 4 extra rebounds. Like, I wish he got contested rebounds. I wish he got more of those. I'm not saying he's an excellent rebounder, but the general, the whole, like, he's 6'11", he should get 8 rebounds. Like, rebounds are the most fungible stat in the NBA. Yeah. Like, just show me where he's at. Are there any other players, going back to Summer League, are there any other players or rookies that jumped out based on the sticky stats that you have?
Yeah, so the ones that I thought were kind of interesting were Colin Murray-Boyles. He was second in offensive rebounds per 36 at Summer League, and was just like kind of like a two-way force out there a little bit, just a huge energy guy. And like the knock on him is like, this guy can't shoot, but he kind of does like literally everything else. And that might be enough to kind of make up for the fact that he's missing this one core skill. So if you're like a big proponent of Colin Murray-Boyles, who was drafted by the Raptors, you're like really encouraged by the fact that he just like went out there and terrorized people on the offensive glass. The other one that I thought was pretty interesting was, 2 of them. So one was Curtis Jones was the 2-way player for the Denver Nuggets, who was unsigned. I mean, he was undrafted and then was signed after Summer League because he was just like awesome. He was one of the leaders. I think he actually averaged more points per 36 than any other rookie.
Oh, wow.
At Summer League. He had a ton of assists and he was bombing threes and he was just making all of his threes. So that's like a really deep cut. Went to Iowa State, and he could be really good. But who knows? The other guy that I thought like popped a lot was 2 guys in Charlotte, like Liam McNeely and also Ryan Kalkbrenner. I thought both of those guys were like awesome at Summer League, which was kind of funny that Con Kneppel won Summer League MVP when I was like, I think he might have been maybe the second or third best player on his team. Because also PJ Hall was on that team, right? Too?
Yeah, PJ Hall was. So he wasn't allowed to play in the championship game after he signed that 2-way deal. Well, I was curious about Con Kneppel because like he did pop at least like the assists per 36. I think they were pretty high for him. Also, I think he had maybe one of the higher 3-point attempt rates, so that maybe he was actually playing a similar role to what he might look like in the regular season.
Totally. Yeah, I'm looking at him. It's like him and Liam McNeely are like right next to each other on the leaderboard. Like Liam McNeely had 5 assists per 36. Con had 4.9. 3-point attempts. I saw 9.1. Liam had 8.7. Yeah, like they were like pretty much. It's just funny that Con Kneppel got a lot of shine. Yeah, I feel like there were other players on Charlotte that were also very good.
I admittedly was too heavily influenced by one game I saw where Kalkbrenner was getting blown by Walter Clayton and Isaiah Collier over and over and over. So that left too strong of an impression on me to maybe.
Yeah, look, I might go down with the ship on that one, but
that's fair.
Like boiling, sitting on a hot take that I think Charlotte actually might be sneaky good next year, and I kind of like the centers in Charlotte way better than I like the centers in Phoenix, who They
Well, I
traded for
mean,
Mark Williams.
if you get the pick offer from the Suns, might as well move on from Mark Williams. Try
Yeah,
something new.
yeah,
It was only a couple of games, but my guy Javon Small jumping
yep,
off the board, all his
yep,
advanced stats looking great, and he
yep,
really high assist per 36. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
He led all. I think he led all drafted rookies in assists per 36. Was just kind of killing it out there. So was Meshack though. Meshack
so
wasn't far
Meshack's assist
behind
per
either.
36 also very high. So yeah, that was
Yeah,
kind of
very high.
that
So
was
good
that
stuff
was
for the
a
Grizzlies.
surprising find. It seems like. Let's move on for a couple other things that I know are of particular interest to you and me. At Summer League, the NBA implemented this rule change they're going to add to the regular season, which is heaves no longer count against your field goal percentage if you miss them, as long as you fulfill a bunch of things like shoot it from behind. What was it? It's not even half court. It's like the
Yeah,
the
it's weird.
40
So it's
foot
like the
line.
extended circle on the other side of the court, basically. So once
Yeah.
you cross half court and once the logo basically cuts off or the center circle cuts off, that's where you can shoot it from, where it doesn't count against your own individual field goal attempts.
But this is a needed change. I've been a proponent of this for a long time. I've been using my position, as small as it may be, to shame players who do this. Like LeBron James has shot like 2 heaves in the last 16 years. Kevin Durant never takes heaves. And we're talking guys doing it in the playoffs. Newest Atlanta Hawk, Luke Kennard, preserving that precious field goal percentage. Like not doing like this should eliminate the right after the dribble heave or shot. We're like, oh, I tried to get it off, but it did seem like I don't have the numbers. Do you have the numbers in Summer League?
So I couldn't find the summer. So it's funny because like they used to record backcourt field goal attempts that you could find pretty easily. But because they made this change, those are no longer counted as backcourt field goal. They're just gone. So like there was way fewer of them this year, effectively. So you have to kind of actually go back and watch the tape or dig into the play-by-play data to find out.
It felt like they were going up a little more frequently. I felt like guys were launching them full court many, many times. I appreciated that. I mean, for me, there's no downside. It's like, what do we get? I mean, what are the numbers going to say? Are we going to get 6 more makes? I mean, we're not going to get that many more makes.
That was the interesting thing. So like the G League introduced this change last year after having the same problem as the NBA does. Players weren't taking them. So 23, 24, there was only 370 of these heaves attempted. Once they instituted the rule, there was 565. So like it went up 50%. But what was interesting, just to your point, there was actually only 2 additional makes. So because players were taking like increasingly audacious, why the hell not kind of shots? Because it's like, well, it doesn't cost me anything. So I might as well like throw a hook shot from 75 feet back. And I think we're going to kind of see some of that in the NBA, like more of that stuff that, like Jokic was doing, which was just, doing a Euro step to a 3-point shot from the opposite free throw line.
But he made them.
Like
he made some of the strangest shot put full court things. Yeah, he's the one guy, because you wrote in your newsletter how absurd it was that so many players didn't take them because they don't affect they barely affect your stats at all.
Yeah.
Jokic was so notable last year because he was the first guy who's like, it actually affected his stats because he took so many of them.
Yeah, that's been my whole bugaboo about these heaves, is that players are always talking about preserving their 3-point percentage or their field goal percentage. I'm like, it's like 5 extra shots. Like it's not actually going to materially drag down your numbers, particularly if you're taking like 300 threes in a season. But it was to your point, it was very interesting that, Jokic took 25 heaves last year. That would have changed his 3-point percentage. He shot 41.7% on the season. But if you remove those missed heaves, and if it were, the rule had counted last year, he would have shot 45% from 3. So that was just extremely interesting in the sense of he's one of the first players who took enough heaves to where it would have like actually materially affected his top line numbers. Because like in the past, you had guys like Andre Miller taking like 20 heaves, which was effectively a third of his entire 3-point attempts. And so, he's just getting like 20 extra misses in his denominator. So going from like a 37% 3-point shooter to a 25% 3-point shooter.
I want to know if anyone in Denver has asked Nikola what happened to this year. He never shied away from them, but I'm looking at his basketball reference page. He had 28 before this season in his career. And
Yeah.
then he just started launching them. Maybe he's like, I don't care
Yeah.
anymore. I'm just going to put them up.
I think he's just a guy that feels like he adds a new trick every year. There's always one new thing. Like he's doing these, quick inbound passes one year. He's doing like the trying to draw the full court shooting foul, which I think is like his white whale, where
It
he's
really
always
is.
trying to get someone to call on that, which I think is going to be great whenever that happens. But yeah, I think he's just always adding one little new trick to the book every year.
It honestly feels like if I'm LeBron James, I still don't take heaves because I feel like it
Hmm.
looks worse if LeBron takes like 10 this year. It's just proof
Yeah.
that guys like me sitting in a basement yelling at him, we're like, you're being selfish. Like, why,
You know, I
why would you pass up the chance at 3 points?
I went almost full sicko mode this year during a very slow period of the F5 and thought I'm going to watch every end of period to see who has, ignored the heave the most, who's opted out of the
Oh,
heave the most.
yeah.
And I got pretty far down the path and I was like, this is stupid. This is going to be interesting to like two people. And I was like, I don't think this is worth it, but maybe I'll revisit it this summer when there's a little more time.
That's no, I'm one of the two people. So I appreciate
Yeah.
the effort that you have put into many of your things. To wrap up, I do want to go back to one thing about your summer league stats. You did, it sounds like, expressed some reservations about Cooper Flag. And I've never heard anyone express reservations about Cooper Flag. So Owen, plant your flag. What
Yes.
what negatives did you take away from the two games by Cooper?
Look, I don't want to sound any alarms. This is not to say Cooper Flag is a bust or that he's not going to be everything everyone hoped him to be. I just think after watching him at Summer League, I am now tempering expectations in terms of the type of player he's going to be in his rookie year. I was in my head, had him as like this, ultimate connector glue guy who is like AK-47 on steroids or something like that, just like a guy who's kind of at threat to do a 5x5 on a basketball game or something like that. Having watched him at Summer League, where he was kind of asked to initiate the offense a lot, sort of like be the primary playmaker, he sort of looked to me. This I do not mean this as an insult. I mean this like as just a way of sort of describing who he is. He kind of looked more to me like Detroit era Jeremy Grant, who was like finally thrusted into a role of like being a primary playmaker after playing years as sort of a secondary guy. And it makes sense. Like it sounds like they're going to be without Kyrie Irving next year. They only have like one other player on the roster who can dribble a basketball. So maybe the Mavs just kind of wanted to see what Cooper Flag would look like. But if you go look, like he didn't really have a lot of assists. He had no offensive rebounds, had very low block numbers. Like those are things that I would have thought he would have really popped in based on
Right.
sort of his play in college and sort of his general scouting profile of this guy who sort of does a little bit of everything. Instead, he was sort of just like poor man's Jason Tatum at Summer League, which is totally fine. Like maybe that's good. Maybe that's better for his development long term if you want him to be that kind of player. I guess in my mind, I kind of thought he was going to be one type of player. And then seeing him at Summer League, I'm like, oh, he's just going to be like this other kind of player. And that he might not be very good at it his rookie year, which is to be expected.
Yeah. So that's what the stats are telling us. So that's interesting. What about your Charlotte Hornets guy for your optimism? Because I noted this last year, like Tijan Salon, no steals or blocks combined last year. He picked up 2 blocks this year. So Real GM has him tracked at 131 summer league minutes. No steals yet, but
Yeah, I'm not buying a lot of stock in Solana Island. I think that one might go down as a pick that the Charlotte lit on fire a little bit there.
they regretted that one a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Owen, thank you so much for coming on and talking basketball with me. Give everybody the elevator pitch for the F5 if I haven't presented it well enough.
No, you did a great job. It's a weekly newsletter about data in the NBA where I kind of explore interesting trends and things that catch my eye and try to talk about them through charts and more accessible language when it comes to stats and numbers and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of stuff, give it a shout. It's free. Comes out once a week.
Also, you just did a thing on the restricted free agent impasse, pointing out there's been basically offer sheets have disappeared. No one even bothers with those anymore. And the restricted free agents, no one will sign them. So check that out.
Poor Cam Thomas, Jonathan
Poor Cam
Kuminga,
Thomas,
Quentin
man.
Grimes,
Also,
all
this
those
goes
guys.
back to
Josh Giddey.
my pet peeve of the NBA. It's harder for these free agents when like a third of the teams don't want to win or only want to win in a specific way. And so it
Right.
becomes like really tough for the guys who are like, I can actually score. They're like, nah, we don't want that. Oh, okay. Anyways, Owen, thanks so much. You guys go check out Owen. Everybody, if you want more from me, patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Thanks for listening. You guys are the best. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Yeah, never apologize for being G&G. Fastbreak break, man. You understand?
I will remember